So this week I am looking at a blended Irish whiskey that will never be repeated but will make history. For almost the past 2 decades, the Irish whiskey industry has been blending from 3 or 4 of the same distilleries, and now Two Stacks Irish Whiskey have decided to bring out a totally different blend from 3 independent Irish whiskey distilleries. So this week I'm looking at Two Stacks Irish Whiskey Pillars of Creation. Now, Two Stacks are bonders and blenders, so that means they essentially source amazing casks and Irish whiskey and then bring it into their warehouse and maybe mature it for longer, maybe change the cask, maybe blend it together. Essentially, they put their own stamp onto the whiskey. And when it comes to the brand itself, they're all about transparency and the art of the blend, which they believe has come together in this bottle. This is the first of their Pillars of Creation annual release. Now, this is the 2024 vintage, and it's a great looking bottle and label. And you can just see on the side there the 3 single casks from the distilleries that are included. That beautiful bonded and blended embossed glass. So what Two Stacks have done with this bottle is they've got a 10-year-old single malt from the Dingle distillery, an 8-year-old pot still whiskey from the Echlinville distillery, and they've got a 4-year-old pot still Irish whiskey from the Killowen distillery. The Dingle and Echlinville spent most of their life in an ex-bourbon cask, and the Killowen was in a refill bourbon quarter cask. They blended the 3 together in a cream sherry cask for about 2.5 years. Now, that sherry cask once held Amontillado, Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso sherry. This bottle comes in at 56% ABV or 112 proof. It's non-chill filtered with no caramel colouring. New chapter this, new chapter that, making history this, making history that, but if their pop doesn't rock, none of that matters. So let's rate that pop. Oh my, I now smell of expensive whiskey. Oh yes, so that nose is just so rich. Massive, deep sherry influence, maybe from the Oloroso and the Pedro Jimenez coming through there. You've got some aged oak coming off the nose as well, but there's this beautiful like richness and maturity in there. Oh my god, my mouth is actually salivating at the smell of this. Oh my god, my mouth is just tingling with flavour sensations right now. On the tip of the tongue, I definitely get that bourbon influence with some of like the Madagascar and sort of rich vanilla, almost like a creme brulee element. It's like almost like fresh pencil shavings, but as a whole, the mouth is just being bashed by this beautiful velvety, luxurious sort of like apricot and like rich blackberry jam. It does feel very complex, so I'm going in for a second sip. Totally evolving. There's more of a honey sort of raisin viscosity coming across the tongue. Now I'm kind of getting like light bits of like lime and possibly a touch of like peppermint on the tip of the tongue. But that cream sherry cask richness is really holding on. I'll go for a third sip. On that third sip I'm getting like rich walnuts. Definitely that big nectary note is coming through. And the finish again is just held up by this big beautiful malty note. And then throughout the palate with this whiskey, that element of pot still with like some of that like white pepper is coming through really, really nicely too. I feel like this is one that you can go back to again and again, and it'll challenge you, it'll evolve, and that's a great sign of something that's complex and sophisticated and very delicious as well. Cheers. Sláinte. Oh, I smell like the inside of a warehouse or like a French patisserie. I like that.